In just over 2 years, an unprecedented wave of construction has surged across Burkina Faso. From rugged dirt roads to nuclear power plants, from new airports to university hospitals, from remote rural areas to the heart of the capital, Ouagadougou, everything is transforming. Behind this sweeping wave stands Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the young president who assumed power at the end of 2022, bringing with him a vision far beyond the chaos of the times. Without making empty promises, the 25 projects initiated by Ibrahim Traoré have completely changed the fate of Burkina Faso, sending shockwaves around the world. Reviving the national airline Air Burkina on October 2, 2024, a plane painted in the national colors of Burkina Faso took off from Ouagadougou Airport. It was more than just a flight, it was a declaration. We are back. After years of stagnation due to crisis, the national airline Air Burkina officially returned. Quietly, without flashy promotion, just one brand new 98-seat Embraer 190 aircraft was purchased for $19 million through discreet diplomatic efforts between Burkina Faso and China. The first flight carried passengers from Ouagadougou to Accra via Bamako. But more important than the flight itself was the belief it carried. The country could now reconnect with the world on its own terms. The president wasn't just launching an airline, he was opening up the skies for a people who had long been suffocated, and Air Burkina was the first wing of that journey, a cashew processing plant, the new weapon of self-reliance. In a parched southern region of Burkina Faso, amidst the steady hum of machinery, a modern cashew processing plant officially came into operation. But what's processed here isn't just nuts, it's national pride. Under President Traoré, this project was never just about production. It was designed to create over 20,000 direct jobs and up to 50,000 indirect ones, lifting tens of thousands of families out of poverty. Burkina Faso is one of West Africa's top cashew-producing regions. But in the past, raw cashews were always exported abroad to be processed elsewhere. Not anymore. Traoré didn't just build a factory, he built an ecosystem, turning raw materials into finished products, turning farmers into stakeholders, and transforming a single small nut into a symbol of economic sovereignty. The Postal Bank, lifting up the forgotten. On October 7, 2024, the Burkina Faso Postal Bank, BPPF, was officially launched in Ouagadougou. This isn't just a bank, it's a doorway of opportunity for millions who have long been left behind. The idea dated back to 1988, but only under President Traoré did it materialize, starting with an initial capital of $25 million. Unlike traditional banks, BPPF serves women, youth, and farmers, offering savings, microcredit, and simple, accessible financial services. This is not a place to dream of riches, but a place where true beginnings take root. Traoré calls it the Bank of Empowerment, and for millions of Burkinabés, it represents a quiet yet enduring revolution. Reviving Burkina Faso's textile industry. Wearing a traditional garment today is no longer just about aesthetics. It's a political act, a statement of national pride. Under President Traoré, the entire textile sector was reactivated through a series of bold measures. New fabric factories were built, and school uniforms are now made from faso d'Anfani, a handmade cloth deeply rooted in local culture. Beyond that, all police and military uniforms are now produced domestically, ending reliance on imports. In a groundbreaking move, lawyers in court no longer wear European-style wigs, but instead don traditional African garments during trials. The culmination of this shift was a nationwide ban on second-hand clothing imports, putting an end to the habit of wearing the West's cast-offs. For Traoré, the era of dressing like others is over. This is the era of sewing our own clothes, wearing them with pride, and defining our own identity and values. Expanding Bobo Dioulasso Airport, a new gateway for West Africa. In western Burkina Faso, Bobo Dioulasso International Airport was once a forgotten, outdated facility. But today, it is being transformed into one of the most strategic aviation hubs in West Africa. President Traoré announced a massive investment of 80 billion CFA francs to modernize the entire airport. This isn't mere renovation, it's a complete rebirth. From a brand new terminal capable of handling 1.5 million passengers a year, to runways, aircraft parking zones, and surrounding road infrastructure, the overhaul is comprehensive. The goal is not only to serve the local population, but to make Bobo a regional transit hub, opening the door to tourism, trade, and investment. While many countries build airports to decorate reports, here every brick is tied to a national strategy to place Burkina Faso firmly on Africa's aviation map, through its own hands. Empowering agriculture in Burkina Faso. Agriculture was once considered the last resort for those with no other options. Today, it is becoming a profession for the empowered. In October 2024, the government launched a large-scale campaign to distribute over 400 tractors, hundreds of motorbikes and water pumps, and tens of thousands of tons of fertilizer, seeds, and crop protection chemicals directly into the hands of farmers and cooperatives. But it wasn't just about equipment. Traoré also launched a historic agricultural training program. $200 million was invested to train 20,000 young people, from smart farming techniques to farm management. They not only learned, but were also granted land to start their own careers. At the same time, projects like high-tech agricultural incubators on barges and the development of aquaculture feed sources are redefining what it means to be a farmer. Traoré didn't just give them tools. He gave them a reason to stay in their homeland and plant the seeds of hope. Ouagadougou-Donin Airport, a runway for a new beginning. The capital, Ouagadougou, once had an international airport located right in the city center. Small, outdated, overcrowded, and unsafe. But now, a new airport is rising 35 kilometers northeast of the capital. The Ouagadougou-Donin International Airport is no ordinary project. It is considered a symbolic milestone, marking Burkina Faso's transformation in aviation infrastructure. With a 3.5-kilometer runway, expandable to 4 kilometers, and a terminal capable of handling up to 1 million passengers per year, the airport is being built to the highest modern standards. More importantly, the project uses low-carbon concrete and integrates a 25-megawatt solar power plant with battery storage, a major leap forward in sustainability. This isn't just a place where planes take off. It's where Burkina Faso demonstrates its green, long-term, and independent vision. Traoré doesn't just want a new airport. He wants a new gateway through which the country steps into the world with a posture entirely different from yesterday, forming the Alliance of Sahel States, a break from the old order. In January 2024, the three poorest but most defiant countries in West Africa, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, announced their withdrawal from ECOWAS, the regional economic bloc backed by the West. Shortly after, they formed a new entity, the Alliance of Sahel States, AES. This was not a symbolic treaty. It was a real break from old institutions, borrowed development models, and what President Traoré called disguised interventionism. AES is not just a defense alliance. It is a coalition for economic policy, monetary coordination, and regional cooperation. They are preparing a joint bank, a stabilization fund, biometric passports, and have removed the ECOWAS logo, aiming for a sovereign Sahelian economy resistant to foreign influence. Traoré and the young leaders of the alliance do not speak in polished diplomatic language. They speak through action, and AES is a bold action, the courage to walk away in order to stand up on their own. 1,000 social housing units, shelters for those once lost to conflict and poverty. Years of conflict and hardship forced tens of thousands of Burkinabés to flee their homes. They didn't just lose land, they lost their houses, their sense of belonging. President Traoré understood that no national reconstruction could be sustainable if the people still lived in makeshift conditions. So, an emergency housing plan was launched. 1,000 social housing units were built across regions such as Note Blue, and Bassan, with a budget of over 5 billion CFA francs. These were not temporary shelters, but a promise, made of bricks, cement, and metal sheets, that you have a place in this country. At the same time, urban infrastructure projects, including road expansion and public space upgrades, were also launched. ensuring that the new settlements would not just be places to live, but places people would want to stay, rebuild, and call home. 50,000 kilometers of paved roads when the people built their own national highways. From independence in 1960 up to 2022, Burkina Faso had only managed to build a little over 3,600 kilometers of paved roads. 6 decades, and roads remained a luxury for millions. Then Traoré set what seemed like a crazy goal: to pave 50,000 kilometers of new roads before 2030. And the most surprising part? No foreign contractors. No dependency on international experts. The Burkinabe people themselves would do it, from craftsmanship to machinery. The government purchased 900 construction machines, launched training programs for engineers and operators, and mobilized young people nationwide to join the effort, turning it into a national movement. Every stretch of asphalt did more than carry cars. It connected schools, clinics, markets, and futures. In a land once called fragmented and divided, Traoré is using asphalt to reconnect unity and trust. Every meter of pavement marks a step forward for a nation designing its own destiny. Bobo Dioulasso Inland Port, a gateway to the sea for a landlocked nation. Burkina Faso is landlocked. This used to mean chronic disadvantages, slow cargo movement, dependence on foreign ports, and sky-high logistics costs. But now, in Bobo Dioulasso, the country's second-largest city, a modern inland port is being built, worth $253 million. Strategically located near the borders with Côte d'Ivoire, Mali, Senegal, and Niger, this port is planned as an integrated logistics hub, with storage warehouses, customs clearance zones, and specialized terminals. The goal: reduce cargo transit times and cut transportation costs for local businesses. But beyond economics lies a deeper mindset shift. Rather than always playing catch-up, Burkina Faso is now proactively shaping regional trade infrastructure, ready to compete. In a country with no coastline, Traoré has found the ocean. By building a port deep inland. Free education, the beginning of a generation no longer afraid of the future. In a country where millions of children grew up without ever holding a new textbook, Traoré chose to begin from the root: education. And he didn't start with speeches. He started with action. In June 2024, the 5-year National Education Plan was announced. At its core, completely free education from primary school to university, removing financial barriers for hundreds of thousands of students. But free education alone was not enough. More than 250 schools in conflict zones were reopened. 44 modern high schools, 39 new university lecture halls, and 10 vocational training centers are now rising across the country. The new curriculum doesn't just teach theory, it includes technical training, practical skills, and civic education. Traoré understands that a nation can only stand tall when its youth know who they are and have the tools to shape their own lives. He didn't just open school doors. He opened a path for a generation to dream bigger. Buying the Tema oil port, when a landlocked country takes control of its lifeline. For a landlocked country like Burkina Faso, every liter of gasoline used to represent a long journey, crossing borders, passing through layers of intermediaries, and riding waves of price crises. But everything began to change when the government purchased the multifunctional Tema oil port in Ghana for $70 million. Instead of waiting for neighboring countries to show mercy, Burkina Faso now directly owns a strategic coastal infrastructure that stores and distributes imported fuel for the entire nation. At the same time, a new hydrocarbon storage center with a capacity of 104,000 cubic meters was built in the western region, increasing the country's ability to stockpile, coordinate, and secure a stable energy supply. In just a few years, Burkina Faso has gone from being almost completely dependent on imported road-transported fuel to having its own energy supply chain, faster, cheaper, and more autonomous. For Traoré, energy independence is no longer a slogan, it is a vital part of national freedom. The nuclear power plant, a bold dream in the heart of Africa. In a country where only around 20% of the population has access to electricity, Nuclear power once seemed like something out of a textbook. But President Traoré refuses to think small. In July 2023, during an official meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin, Burkina Faso officially signed a $4 billion project with Rosatom to build the nation's first nuclear power plant. The goal is clear. By 2030, supply 90% of electricity to urban areas and 50% to rural regions, ending reliance on outdated biofuels. But this is more than just a power plant. The partnership with Russia also includes technology transfer, human resource training, and raising public awareness about nuclear energy for peaceful purposes. Burkina Faso is doing what even many developed countries hesitate to do, using intelligence and strategic cooperation to rise, not just to escape poverty, but to lead. The Thomas Sankara Memorial, the soul of a reborn revolution. In 1987, Thomas Sankara, the young revolutionary president, was assassinated right in Ouagadougou. For many years, the site remained empty. But now, on that very ground, a monumental memorial is taking shape. President Traoré initiated the project not just as a cultural structure, but as a historical promise. The Sankara Memorial, designed by renowned architect Francis Kéré, spans nearly 10,000 square meters, with a central tower 87 meters high, symbolizing the year the hero fell. Sankara once dreamed of a self-reliant, united, and free Africa. Today, Traoré is turning that dream into stone, steel, and living faith. The Geriatric Hospital, a nation that does not forget its elders. While the world focuses on youth and economic growth, President Traoré chose a different path, building a hospital for the elderly. Amid global conversations about innovation and future generations, he reminded the nation of those who carried the weight of the past, the seniors, the lifelong contributors. In Bobo Dioulasso, the country's first geriatric hospital now stands, representing a rare act of humanity in modern governance. In Bobo Dioulasso, the first modern geriatric hospital in Burkina Faso was launched, dedicated to those who have spent their entire lives serving the nation. The government also allocated 1.7 billion CFA francs for programs providing free health checkups and subsidized medication for over 95,000 retirees and their dependents, especially those covered by the social welfare system. In a place where old age was once seen as a burden, the elderly are now cared for with respect and gratitude. For Traoré, building the future means never forgetting those who created today. The Xianglong Cement Plant, a foundation for a self-built Burkina Faso. In May 2025, the Xianglong Cement Plant was inaugurated in the Central Plateau, with a daily capacity of 10,000 tons, enough to support infrastructure projects across the country. This is not a foreign-imposed project, but a strategic joint venture between the government and a Chinese investor aimed at sustainable production, using renewable energy, advanced emission treatment, and recycling old cement bags. The plant creates thousands of jobs, but more importantly, it sends a powerful message. Burkina Faso no longer depends on imported cement. For Traoré, this is not just building material. It is a solid foundation for a nation determined to rebuild, using its own resources, labor, and dignity. The Italo electric car. When technology carries the colors of Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso was once dismissed as a technological backwater. Now, the country has produced its first electric car, entirely designed and manufactured by its own people, Italo. The first two models, Native and Sil, were rolled out from the Ouaga 2000 plant in the capital, Ouagadougou. These are not vehicles assembled from imported kits. They are the result of local engineers, mechanics, and designers. The car has a range of 330 kilometers, charges in just 30 minutes, and includes GPS, Bluetooth, and solar charging, making it suitable for both urban and rural areas. Italo is more than just a means of transportation. It's a silent declaration from a rising nation. We are no longer just exporters of raw materials. We can manufacture the future through our own intellect. Faso Rail, the rails that connect the dream of national unity. Burkina Faso has long lacked a nationwide railway system. With no railways connecting its 45 provinces, transportation relied entirely on expensive, slow, and unreliable trucks. President Traoré set out to change that. FasoRail was born as an integrated national railway network with central stations, logistics hubs, and dedicated routes for agriculture, mining, and passenger transport. The goal: reduce transportation costs, boost domestic trade, and unlock the potential of long-neglected regions. FasoRail is more than just a railway. It is the new lifeblood of the country, connecting people, regions, and opportunities. It lays the groundwork for a unified, modern, and more sustainable Burkina Faso than ever before. Clean water and sanitation. The flow of a dignified life. In many rural areas of Burkina Faso, clean water was once a distant dream. Children had to walk kilometers just to fetch water from rivers. In many villages, toilets used to be nothing more than rudimentary holes in the ground. But now, the country is entering a quiet yet profound revolution. Universal access to clean water and basic sanitation. With $48 million in funding from the African Development Bank, the government launched a large-scale project, constructing 60 mobile water supply systems, drilling 110 high-capacity water reservoirs, and building over 13,500 household toilets. This project has not only provided over 500,000 people with reliable access to clean water and better sanitary conditions, but also reduced disease, improved public health, and restored dignity to communities long forgotten. Traoré didn't promise paradise. He started with the basics, giving people the right to cleanliness, safety, and health right in their own villages. August 4th, Stadium, the grandstand of memory and aspiration. Located in the capital, Ouagadougou, August 4th Stadium is more than a football venue. It is a witness to history named after the day, August 4th, 1983, when Thomas Sankara led the revolution that changed Burkina Faso's destiny. But over the years, the stadium fell into disrepair, cold, decaying, and seemingly forgotten. Until President Traoré decided to launch a comprehensive renovation, turning it into a vibrant symbol of national rebirth. With 35,000 seats, the stadium was upgraded with international standard turf, new lighting systems, digital scoreboards, VIP zones, and modern locker rooms. More importantly, security, accessibility, and spectator experience were placed at the forefront. During festivals and major matches, tens of thousands gather, cheering, laughing, crying, and singing the national anthem in unison. August 4th Stadium is no longer just a sports ground. It is the cultural heart and symbol of unity for a nation rising from the ashes. Gold no longer flows out, from nationalization to local refining. Burkina Faso is one of Africa's leading gold-producing countries. Yet for many years, gold flowed outward, while locals saw only dust, the real value disappearing elsewhere. President Traoré put an end to that. Starting in 2023, he nationalized two major gold mines, Bongu and Gourounsi, and established the national mining company Soremib Faso, Société des Ressources Minières du Burkina Faso. A new mining agreement was signed directly with the Russian corporation Not Nordgon, while the Russian embassy was reopened after 31 years, and the French military was completely expelled. The peak of this strategy was the construction of the nation's first gold refinery, in partnership with Marinog. With an annual capacity of 150 tons, the facility is expected to create over 5,000 indirect jobs. From now on, gold will not only remain in the country, but will be refined and crafted by the hands of Burkinabe people, becoming a vivid symbol of sovereignty, self-reliance, and national pride. 2 university hospitals and mobile clinics bring healthcare to every corner. In the past, to access advanced diagnostics like CT scans or specialized treatment, many Burkinabe had to go abroad. Now, that is changing. The government is building 2 major university hospitals, one in Bala, with 500 beds in partnership with China, and another in Gawa, with 300 beds, serving the southwest and even neighboring countries like Ghana. At the same time, 15 mobile clinics are being deployed, equipped with ultrasound machines, endoscopy tools, and solar-powered refrigerators, reaching even the most remote regions. In addition, the government is building 55 community health centers and 5 intensive care units, ensuring that no one is left out of the healthcare system no matter where they live. For Traoré, it's not just about hospitals, it's about restoring trust and the right to healthcare. 25 projects are not miracles, nor are they perfect blueprints. But each road, each factory, each classroom, and every drop of clean water speaks one clear truth. Burkina Faso has begun again, with its own hands. In a world where small nations are often forced to choose sides, bow down or remain silent, Ibrahim and his people have chosen to stand tall, decide for themselves, and move forward. What they are doing is not merely development, it is a bold model of self-reliance, dignity, and sovereignty. No one knows how far this journey will go. But as of now, Burkina Faso has proven that even the places once considered the most hopeless, if led by a clear vision and a burning heart, can rewrite their own destiny.